Hello everyone, welcome back to your own channel, the IS Track. Today I have come up with this video which is going to be of extreme importance for the upcoming UPSC Prelims 2026. Today we'll be discussing some of the most important places and events which have been in the news in the last 18 months. Believe me, it is going to be very important. This is an area which requires less investment and it can give you high returns. So make sure that you watch the video till the end. Make sure you subscribe the channel and also you share this particular video with your fellow aspirants. So without wasting time, let's start. The very first topic relates to the March 23 movement, also known as the M23 rebel group. See, we have the African continent. And the African continent, we have the country Democratic Republic of Congo. Over here, we have two provinces, two states. We have North Kivu and South Kivu. Over here, what we are witnessing is the activities by the M23 rebel group, and it is leading to a lot of human rights abuses and ultimately humanitarian crisis. Okay. Now, if we go into the inception of this organization, what you'll have to understand is it was in 2009 that a particular organization known as the National Congress for the Defense of People, it came into an agreement with the established government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. But in 2012, a faction broke from this particular group and it called itself the M23 rebel group. How the name comes? Because this agreement took place on March 23, 2009. And as I told, that a lot of human rights abuses have been taking place in this particular area. The next thing which you'll have to understand is that the African continent is endowed with a lot of natural resources, including the Democratic Republic of Congo. Over here, we have certain mineral resources which are very important and which can definitely be asked in the examination. For example, we have the ore over here known as coltan, which is a source of the mineral tantalum. Now, tantalum is something which is having a very high density and high melting point, and this is something which is used in the capacitors and ultimately a very important component of the electronics. Then we also have the ore known as cassiterite. Now, cassiterite is a source of tin. Now, we all know tin is very important. It's a very important component with respect to the alloy making, right? Next, we also have the next ore known as wolframite. Now, wolframite is a source of the very famous mineral source known as tungsten. Tungsten is used as filament, lighting filament, and in the cutting equipments. So you can understand that we can correlate the mineral resources aspect, and since it has a lot of mineral resources, there is the fight to capture this particular area, and therefore we have the M23 rebel group. I hope it is clear. Next, we have the Chabahar port and the INSTC. We already know what is happening as far as Iran and US is concerned, including Israel. Over here, Chabahar port is very, very important. Chabahar port comprises of two terminals. We have the Shahid Kalantari and Shahid Behasti. Now, Shahid Behasti is something which has been developed by India, and India actually got waivers from the US. Now, the waivers would expire. The sanction waivers would expire on 26th of April. And that is the reason India is asking US to continue those waivers, right? So that we can have access to this particular port. India has invested a lot in this particular port, and you can just see that this snippet I have taken from the Ministry of External Affairs. There was a trilateral agreement which we signed in 2016 between India, Afghanistan, and Iran, right? Ultimately, what we call this agreement as Chabahar agreement. Now, if you can just see, we have this Chabahar port over here, right? Chabahar port is very near to that of the Gwadar port, where we are witnessing the investments by China in Pakistan. Now, Chabahar port can give India the access to Afghanistan and then further to Central Asian republics and then further to Russia. And it has become a very important component of INSTC, International North-South Transit Corridor. You can just see we have this INSTC which starts from Mumbai, and then we have Chabahar port, and then it goes via Iran to that of the Caspian Sea and further to Central Asian republics, and then it can go to St. Petersburg. Now, why this is important? Because this would reduce the reliance on the conventional route. So we have the conventional route via the Suez Canal over here, right, in the Red Sea, and ultimately we have through the Mediterranean Sea, and ultimately via the the European countries, it reaches to St. Petersburg. So this is a very long route. So INSTC is something which is quite economical, and Chabahar Agreement, Chabahar route, Chabahar port is an integral component of INSTC. Make sure that you go through this. I'll be also providing the PDF, and you can access the PDF on the Telegram channel, and this is the Telegram channel which is the IAS track, right? You can just go through that. Again, what you'll have to understand is that we have over here the Strait of Hormuz, and this is again very important. Strait of Hormuz is between Iran and Oman, right? Do remember that, Iran and Oman, because right now we are witnessing very fragile geopolitical conditions over here in this area, and there is fighting which is taking place. So naturally it becomes very important area with respect to the UPSC, right? Let's go to the next topic. We have the JCPOA and snapback mechanism. Again, it relates to the country of Iran. It was in 2015 that P5 plus 1, permanent 5 of the UNSC, and 1 means Germany, they came into an agreement with Iran. It basically asks Iran to cut on its uranium enrichment, right? And in return, we would basically make sure that the sanctions are lifted off, right? Sanctions which are imposed on Iran. But in 2018, because of the fickle policies of Mr. Trump, President Trump, he came out from the JCPOA, and then we have the other countries which are still in the agreement with the Iran. But right now what we are witnessing is there are allegations that Iran is continuously enriching its uranium supplies, especially in the provinces, in the areas, in the nuclear facilities of Natanz and Fordo. These are the places in Iran where allegedly, where there are allegations that uranium enrichment is taking place. Now, what is snapback mechanism? So, see, this was something which was an integral component of JCPOA. What it said was that if Iran would basically fail to, make sure that it is abiding by its commitment, if it would not abide by its commitment, then we would reimpose the sanctions. We would snap back the sanctions on Iran. That is what known as the snapback mechanism. You can also read that we have the 3 countries, and it's a very recent news, 29 September 2025, can be important for the prelims. It says the decision was taken after the introduction of the UN sanctions, following the UN Security Council decision not to extend the lifting of sanctions of Iran. This occurred after the E3 that is France, Germany and UK invoked the snapback mechanism foreseen in the JCPOA. So this is an integral component. This is an integral component of the JCPOA. So you'll have to understand if the question comes, what do we mean by a snapback mechanism, or what it relates to? It relates to the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, right? Next topic is Mercosur. So it's a trading bloc in Latin America, and it comprises these countries. You can just have a look. It comprises Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, right? And also Bolivia. So the initial countries were Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay and Argentina. Later Bolivia was added. Also Venezuela was added, but it has been suspended since 2016. Why this is important? Because India eyes expansion of Mercosur Trade Pact, and this was said by the Commerce Minister. So naturally it becomes very important. The existing India Mercosur PTA, Preferential Tariff Agreement. You can just have a look over here. As I said, that I'll be providing the PDF in the Telegram channel, so you can very easily go through this content, and it would maximum require 15 minutes, right? And it can be really very important. Just go through this. We have Mercosur, which right now includes Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina and Bolivia. Venezuela is suspended. So this naturally becomes very important. We have the observer members over here as New Zealand, and we have Mexico. So these are the observer states of Mercosur. Very important organization, have a track, and India is eyeing to expand the trade with Mercosur, right? Next, we have South-South and Triangular Cooperation. This has been in news. Why? Because we have a lot of countries in the global south which are cooperating with each other. So South-South cooperation, a definition can be asked, is a common endeavor of the peoples and the countries of the south, born out of shared experiences and sympathies, based on their common objectives and solidarity, and guided by the principles of respect for national sovereignty and ownership. Now, what you'll have to understand is that we had the Buenos Aires Plan of Action of 1978, right? And out of that meeting, we started with this concept of South-South and triangular cooperation. What is triangular cooperation? Where you have two developing countries and we have one developed country, right? So they basically come together for the common objectives for the development programs. Triangular cooperation involves South-driven partnership between two or more developing countries supported by a developed country or multilateral organizations to implement development cooperation programs and projects. Again, I have taken this from very credible sources from the UN websites, so you can easily rely on this, right? Next, we have two important bases, Ayani and Farkhor Air Base. Please note that these were the two bases outside the territory of India, where India had a dominant position in these two bases, right? Overseas bases of India. But now there has been a news that India has withdrawn from Ayani, and what you'll have to understand is that we had in 1998, India started its operation in Farkhor Air Base in Tajikistan. This is the map, you can just have a look. Ayani Air Base and Farkhor. Now India has quietly withdrawn its personnel and equipment from the Ayani Air Base in Tajikistan, ending over 2 decades of strategic presence. You must be aware that when we had the regime of Taliban earlier, right, we had the Northern Alliance, which was fighting the Taliban, and India was supporting the Northern Alliance at that particular time. And we had the hospitals in Ayani Air Base, which were basically taking care of those injured people of the Northern Alliance. So this is very important. Right now, if there's a question which says, does India have any overseas military base? The answer is no. Right now, we don't have any military base outside the territory of India, right? Let's go to the next topic, which is Levant, West Bank, and Gaza Strip. Now, once we talk about the Levant region, we have these countries. We have the country of Syria, we have Jordan, we have Israel, we have Lebanon, and we have Cyprus. These countries are known as the Levant countries. Very, very important. Adjoining the Mediterranean Sea. Now, if you just look at this particular area, known as, we have the Palestine, which is a non-member observer state in the United Nations. What you'll have to understand is, look at this particular map. We have the West Bank. Now, why this is known as the West Bank is because it is on the western bank of the river Jordan. So if you look at the eastern boundaries of West Bank, you'll find that we have the country of Jordan and we have the river Jordan, the same name, right? The Jordan River. Over here we have the Sea of Galilee, also known as Lake Tiberias. So this is the other name of Sea of Galilee, known as Lake Tiberias, right? Make sure that you correlate Sea of Galilee with Lake Tiberias. Very, very important, right? We also have at this place in Gaza Strip known as Rafah. Now, Rafah is an entry point in Egypt. Right now, the Gaza Strip is totally under the control of the Israeli occupation, right? Israeli authorities. So this is very important to understand. The West Bank is again a landlocked portion. It does not have access to the Mediterranean Sea, right? On the northern side we have Israel, on the southern side we have Israel, on the western side we have Israel, and on the right side we have Jordan and the Jordan River, right? Next we have the Nordic and Scandinavian countries. When we talk about the Nordic countries, just have a look. We have these countries: Greenland, then we have Norway, Sweden, Finland, then we have the Iceland, right? And then there are certain territories of Norway itself, right? Once we talk about the Scandinavian countries, it includes only three countries known as Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, not Finland. Not Finland. Finland is not included in these Scandinavian countries. Very, very important. You can also just have a look through this. You can just know that which all countries are a part of the Nordic countries and the Scandinavian countries. Next, we have the Arctic Sentry mission. Have been in the news. NATO has come up with this particular mission in order to increase its surveillance over the Arctic. There can be a particular question that Arctic Sentry mission is basically being carried out by which organization. So it is being carried out by NATO. We have NATO has a presence in the Arctic since founding 1949. Five of NATO's founding members, Canada, Denmark, Iceland, Norway, and United States, are Arctic states. So definitely, this question can be asked in February 2026. Quite recent. Quite recent. In February 2026, NATO launched Arctic Sentry, a military activity that further strengthens its deterrence and defense across the region. Next, we have Baltic countries and important water bodies of Europe. First of all, we have the Baltic countries known as Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Do remember these are the Baltic countries, and we have the Baltic Sea over here, right? And this is Gulf of Finland. We have Gulf of Riga. Do remember. And I've also given this particular image, which can be really very helpful. We have Gulf of Bothnia, right? This is over here. We have, as I told you, we have the country of Finland over here, and this is Sweden. So we have Gulf of Bothnia over here. Next, we have different water bodies. We have the Baltic Sea, we have the Gulf of Venice, Adriatic Sea, Aegean Sea, right? And then we have Ligurian Sea, English Channel, Strait of Dover, very important between France and UK, right? So just have a look, can be asked in the prelims. Next, we have Silicon Shield. Why? Because, see, why this is important is because of the fact that Taiwan has a dominance as far as the semiconductors is concerned, and therefore this gives it a kind of a shield, right? And semiconductor is something which is a very important component of the electronics, right? And that is also one of the reason that US has been providing the security guarantees to Taiwan, because its importance is beyond measures as far as the electronic industry is concerned. Just have a look. Taiwan's dominance in the semiconductors industry, also referred to as the Silicon Shield, is facing unprecedented challenges amidst escalating geopolitical tensions as a global race. Now, the island is home to Taiwan Semiconductors Manufacturing Company, TSMC, the world's leading chip maker, produces a staggering 60% of the world's semiconductors, and even more impressive, 90% of the most advanced chip. So this naturally becomes important. Then we have the EFTA. Why this is important? Because India EFTA trade pact boosting $100 billion investment and 1 million jobs. This I have taken from the PIB, so very important. India and EFTA signed the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement TEPA on 10th March 2024, effective from 1st October 2025. Very important. What are the four countries of EFTA? It consists of these four countries of Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. At least remember these four countries can be asked in the prelims. I'm again repeating: Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. Very important. Next, we have Gulf of Aqaba. Again in news and very important. We have the Red Sea, which is bifurcated by the Sinai Peninsula into Gulf of Aqaba and Gulf of Suez. Why this is important? Because of these places, we have the Gulf of Aqaba. Aqaba is a city in Jordan, and this particular city gives access to Jordan, which is actually landlocked, to the Gulf of Aqaba and further to the Red Sea. So definitely very important. We have the port of Eilat. Eilat is in Israel, and we have Aqaba, which is in Jordan. We have the city of Neom. If you have seen, Saudi Arabia is developing a Neom, and this is over here. We have the Strait of Tiran over here. Tiran is an island, right? Strait of Tiran, very important over here, and therefore Gulf of Aqaba is important. It gives access to Jordan in the water body and further to the Red Sea. Very important. Next, we have the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Why this is important? Because it has been in the news primarily because of the fighting which is going on between Russia and the Ukraine. Over here, you'll have to understand the countries. Again, we have Russia, we have Ukraine, we have Romania, we have Bulgaria, we have Turkey, we have Georgia as the key important countries surrounding the Black Sea. Then we have Sea of Azov over here. We have a strait known as the Strait of Kerch. Strait of Kerch between the Sea of Azov and Black Sea. And over here we have Bosphorus, Strait of Bosphorus. Strait of Bosphorus between the Sea of Marmara. This water body, if you can see, it is Sea of Marmara. Between Black Sea and Sea of Marmara, we have the Strait of Bosphorus, and then we have over here the Strait of Dardanelles, which is between Sea of Marmara and that of Aegean Sea. This is Aegean Sea, right? And therefore this is very important. Also have a look at the Caspian Sea. In the Caspian Sea, we have these countries. We have Turkmenistan, we have Kazakhstan, we have over here Russia, we have Azerbaijan, and we have Iran. So these are the bordering countries of Caspian Sea. Again, very, very important, can be asked in the examination. Here we come at the end of the discussion. If you want more such discussions, do let me know in the comments. And also you can join the Telegram channel. I'll be providing the PDF. You can just search the IS track and you can get the PDF from there. This is the QR code you can scan. And again, as I said, if you want more quality content, do let me know and I'll be providing more of such videos. Thank you so much. All the very best.